Good morning and welcome to Barbara's Bulletin. I'm your host, Barbara. Today, we're starting with a significant development in international relations as British Prime Minister Keir Starmer is set to visit China at the end of January, according to Sky News. This would mark the first visit by a British leader to China in 7 years, signaling a potential shift in diplomatic efforts between the two nations. As we delve into this story, it's essential to understand the complexities surrounding UK-China relations. Prime Minister Starmer's Labour government has emphasized the importance of improving ties with Beijing, particularly in terms of securing foreign investment to boost Britain's economy and infrastructure. However, this relationship has been complicated by accusations of spying and concerns over national security. The British MI5 security service recently issued a warning about attempts by Chinese agents to gather information and influence activities within the UK. Moreover, there was a notable case involving 2 British men charged with spying on parliament members for China, which was later dropped due to insufficient evidence. These incidents have led to criticisms from opposition politicians that the current government might be prioritizing better relations with China over national security concerns. It's also worth noting that former Prime Minister Theresa May was the last British leader to visit China back in 2018. Since then, UK-China relations have been strained due to disagreements on human rights, Hong Kong, and allegations of Chinese espionage under subsequent Conservative governments. As we look ahead to Prime Minister Starmer's potential visit to China, it will be crucial to observe how these diplomatic efforts unfold, especially given the sensitive nature of their relationship. The visit, if confirmed, would come shortly after Britain is expected to make a decision on approving a new Chinese embassy in London, a matter that has raised security concerns among critics. We'll continue to monitor this developing story and provide updates as more information becomes available. For now, it's clear that Prime Minister Starmer's approach to China will be under close scrutiny both domestically and internationally. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. I'm Barbara, and we're continuing our coverage of global news. Today, we're focusing on the presidential election in Guinea-Bissau, a West African nation with a complex history of political instability. As we reported earlier, incumbent President Umaro Sissoco Embalo is facing a tough re-election bid after an unstable first term. His main challenger is Fernando Dias, who has drawn large crowds with promises to promote security and reconciliation. According to Hamilton Teixeira, a sociologist at the Catholic University of Bissau, Dias has a strong chance of succeeding, but whoever wins will have a huge task trying to turn the page on Guinea-Bissau's long history of political instability. The election is unfolding against the backdrop of a booming cocaine trade and a deeply polarized political climate. Embalo has faced challenges to his legitimacy all year, with the opposition saying his term officially expired in February. The Supreme Court of Justice had previously said it would end in September. Additionally, Guinea-Bissau has not had a sitting legislature since Embalo dissolved it in late 2023 after what his government described as a coup attempt. It's worth noting that the country's status as a crucial transit point for cocaine traveling from South America to Europe has, if anything, deepened on Embalo's watch. According to Vincent Foucher, senior research fellow at the National Center for Scientific Research in France, there is plenty of evidence that Guinea-Bissau is a drug hub, with many Bissau Guineans being arrested with cocaine in the sub-region and abroad. As we continue to monitor the situation, it's essential to remember that nearly half of Guinea-Bissau's roughly 2 million people are registered to vote in Sunday's presidential and legislative elections. The provisional results are expected to be announced within 48 hours. We'll keep a close eye on the developments in Guinea-Bissau and provide updates as more information becomes available. For now, let's take a look at what's next. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. As we wrap up today's show, we're going to dive into a developing story that's been making headlines in the world of U.S. immigration and politics. A federal judge, James Boasberg, has resumed his contempt inquiry into the Trump administration's deportations to El Salvador. This comes after a court order was issued in March requiring aircraft carrying men deported to El Salvador to turn around. The backstory is complex, but essentially, Judge Boasberg is seeking to determine whether U.S. officials willfully defied his court order by proceeding with the deportations anyway. The judge has asked for sworn testimony from administration officials to get to the bottom of this matter. The Justice Department, on the other hand, disagrees with Boasberg's interpretation of the appeals court order and argues that the Trump administration did not intentionally defy any court orders. This case is significant because it raises questions about the limits of presidential power and the rule of law. The Venezuelan men at the center of this litigation were removed from the U.S. under the rarely invoked Alien Enemies Act and were later released from a Salvadoran prison as part of a U.S.-brokered prisoner swap. As we follow this story, it's essential to consider multiple perspectives and await the outcome of the inquiry. The implications of this case could be far-reaching, and we'll continue to monitor developments and bring you updates as more information becomes available. That's all for today's Barbara's Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay engaged.